I'm not African because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me.
We saw on the street, many of them, all of them in fact, unarmed protesters who posed no threat to the police, but we saw police shoot them dead.
I don't know if President William Ruto means it, because he said so many things and I can't locate him these days, because the things he said during election and the things he's doing now are two different things.
I have been reporting on extrajudicial killings in Kenya for over a decade, but I've never witnessed anything like this.
Now, let me just put it blatantly to you. The program targets the birth of new babies. So once you have your baby, before your baby leaves the hospital, you no longer get a paper birth certificate, but then you get a digital one that is somehow implanted somewhere on somebody's body. Think about that.
The youth are no longer begging, they are rising. Here are the 7 deadly sins of President William Ruto that shattered Kenya's trust, sparked nationwide outrage, and exposed a government crumbling under its own lies. Before we dive in, tap subscribe button and like this video. If this video moves you, hit super thanks to support our mission for African liberation and truth. The bloody finance bill. The finance bill, promoted as economic reform, turned into economic destruction. Fuel, food, mobile phones, everything taxed.
Poor African countries have the lowest wage workers in the world. And yet a company like Nike, for instance, can't put a factory in one of those countries because of the oppressive tax rates. Taxes have killed any possibility of economic development. They've killed any hope of these countries ever helping themselves. And that leaves them completely at the mercy of charity and loans. And here's the worst part. You know why those countries have such high tax rates? Because of us, to show us that they can raise enough money to pay back their loans. But taxes can't raise any money if they kill the economies. So it turns out that the tragic, unintended consequence of our good intentions toward Africa, our kindness, is that we have encouraged those countries to lock themselves into a gruesome economic depression. If we don't urge those countries to cut their tax rates, they will never grow their economies. People will live lifetimes of unemployment.
And when Kenyans said no, the response was bullets, not ballots. At least 16 dead. Dozens missing. Hundreds injured. This is not leadership, it's financial terrorism.
I have been reporting on extrajudicial killings in Kenya for over a decade, but I've never witnessed anything like this. People have been demonstrating for 2 weeks after a blogger died mysteriously in police custody, calling it the latest incident in a long history of police brutality. The peaceful protesters were met by men on motorbikes, armed with whips and batons, who attacked them as they were marching towards the Kenya Police Headquarters. And then, the most shocking moment, 2 police officers met Boniface Karaoke, a vendor who was selling surgical masks to demonstrators. One of them slapped him. The other one pointed a rifle on his head and fired from inches away before walking off. Boniface Karaoke fell on the ground on a pool of blood. He has since undergone surgery and still in intensive care unit.
Protesters gunned down in cold blood. Peaceful protesters were met with police brutality. Children, students, bloggers. Killed. This is a government declaring war on its own future.
Parliament is completely barricaded. A lot of police out here. And the surrounding streets are empty. A lot of them trying to make sure that none of the protesters gets this far on the first anniversary of the killings we saw on the street. Many of them, all of them in fact, unarmed protesters who posed no threat to the police, but we saw police shoot them dead.
Sin number 3, digital ID, a digital chain for life. Under the guise of progress, Ruto's regime launched a digital ID system from birth. But what starts as ID ends as control. With every scan, your data belongs to the state and maybe to foreign hands.
Its global push to support its so-called government-backed digital ID programs, and this time setting its sight on Kenya, where it will advise the government on that country's Maisha Namba digital ID initiative that is currently under development. So, according to a Kenyan news agency, Gates' role is assisting the Kenyan government in its development, and the rollout of Maisha Namba was announced after a recent series of the closed-door meetings with Kenyan President William Ruto. According to Biometric Update, Maisha Namba is supposedly expected to address different challenges, such as identifying and authenticating citizens, safeguarding primary registration documents such as birth certificates and national identity cards, and improving the management of the social programs and government operations. The project has been met with skepticism in some parts of the country. Rights groups have also been expressing concern over the possibility of discrimination and the erosion of privacy. But listen, I just told you in a very nice way. Now let me just put it blatantly to you. The program targets the birth of new babies. So once you have your baby, before your baby leaves the hospital, you no longer get a paper birth certificate, but then you get a digital one that is somehow implanted somewhere on somebody's body. Think about that, but have a listen to this.
The digital ID, which has been a big problem to us for a very long time, is now on a testing mode for the next 2 months. I have been assured by all the stakeholders, led by the ministries concerned, that by December, we will be able to launch digital ID, where every Kenyan don't have to carry any paper, plastic or otherwise, as an ID, that they should be able to be identified digitally using their iris or their fingerprints, and we can transact without the necessity.
Sin number 4, seed law criminalizing African farmers. Imagine going to jail for planting the seed your grandfather gave you. That's the Kenya of Ruto, where Monsanto is king and farmers are criminals.
So I understand very clearly that the Kenya seed law prevents farmers from selling their own varieties, and even sharing their own varieties becomes difficult. This is really unfortunate, and it's unethical, and it should not continue. I think that I have had the pleasure of speaking with a variety of farmers here at Seed Savers Network Kenya, who are attending some trainings here, that they are working to change the law. They are working to change the law along with Seed Savers Network Kenya and with Greenpeace, that a court challenge has been filed against the government of Kenya to change that law to allow farmers to save and to sell their own seeds. We think this is very important. I think it's very important for the future of Kenya, for the future of farming in Kenya. When the law is wrong, it should be changed. It is a challenge to change laws, but we change laws all the time, everywhere around the world, but it takes people working together, finding common ground, bringing information together, and I think that is what Seed Savers Network Kenya is doing, bringing information, sharing it with people so that they may work together peacefully to make political change that is necessary for the future of the country.
Good news or bad news, we're going to court. Remember this? There's a seed law that prevents farmers from freely selling, exchanging, and sharing indigenous seeds, a sacred tradition passed down from generation to generation. How ridiculous. You didn't think Kenyan farmers would watch and do nothing as their livelihood and heritage get destroyed, did you? On the 24th of July, farmers are going head-to-head with the government for a court hearing. Farmers are going to present all the reasons why the government should bet on them and indigenous seeds for food security and sovereignty. KEFIS, the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, and the Attorney General will also present their case on certified seeds and push for the oppressive law to remain in place. With your help, by adding your name to the already 10,000 people who have signed the petition to protect our farmers, we can add enough pressure on the government to make the right decision and scrap this law for good. We'll keep you posted for more updates. But in the meantime, don't forget to sign the petition and back our farmers.
So why do we feel the need to go and patent things and make laws and regulations and stipulations and imprison people if they don't and if they do? It is like this whole thing with UPOV, the International Union for the Protection of Plant Varieties. I think I got that right. Which is a body under the World Trade Organization, which is part of, the UPOV is under the WIPO, which is IPO Protection Global, which is under the World Trade Organization, which created the necessary pressures using its governmental networks, because when you look into the history of UPOV and everything, it's not even a governmental body or, you know, some signatory something, whatever these people go and change themselves at an international level and then say they're doing the best for their people. It's not one of those, but it was able to generate sufficient pressure to cause governments in least developed countries and regions for them to sign up to UPOV so that they can comply with something that the World Trade Organization required governments to comply with by a certain time frame, which then turned into this whole prison system around seeds. Because it's under UPOV that companies that are doing messes with seeds, as if seeds are inadequate, have now come to protect their rights to trade and earn from those seeds. I don't know whose permission they took when they took the original seed and started to tamper with it, because that original seed had been in existence for ages. If you believe the people who believe in Darwinism, then it's hundreds of millions of years. May I just say, however long it has been since these things were created, did any one of these super scientists go and ask the person who made everything for permission to go and start messing around with the stuff inside the seed before they started going to claim it as property? Because you take my stuff and then you mess around with it. I was the original owner. How do we discuss this matter? So if I'm the creator and I'm just watching you messing around with my stuff and then going to tell my other creations, now you pay me, I think I'll laugh you out of existence. Stupid laws. Once you're a signatory to UPOV, you are required by your obligations to that union to create a law in your country that prohibits your people from storing, sharing, exchanging and selling their indigenous seeds, because they want to protect the money makers. So you immediately turn your people into lawbreakers if they're just doing what they do.
Sin number 5, corruption with no shame. While Kenyans starve, Ruto's circle eats fat. Land grabs, tender fraud, unexplained wealth. Yet not a single conviction. The system protects itself. Sin number 6, ethnic divides for political gain. Instead of uniting the nation, Ruto plays the tribal card. Divide to rule. Divide to dominate. But Kenya's youth are done being pawns. Sin number 7, selling Kenya to the West. The seeds are foreign. The loans are foreign. The decisions, foreign. Under Ruto, Kenya isn't leading Africa. It's being auctioned to the highest bidder. From Nairobi to the continent. What Kenya is facing is not isolated, it is a mirror for Africa. Whether it's in Nigeria, Congo, Uganda, Sudan, or South Africa, our patience is not weakness. Africa is awake. And Ruto's sins will not be forgiven by silence. If this video resonates with you, like, share and subscribe. Support Afriscope TV through super thanks. Because if we don't expose them, they will bury the truth. Do you think Ruto has betrayed the youth of Kenya? Let the world hear your voice. What sin do you think is the worst, the finance bill, digital ID, or the seed law? Which African leader is next if this movement spreads beyond Kenya? Should other African nations rise like Kenyans just did? Type yes or a no. What's your message to President Ruto if he's watching this video right now? Disclaimer. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. Afriscope TV does not promote hate, violence, or misinformation. All content is based on publicly available data and expert commentary. Viewers are encouraged to think critically and verify independently.